This is the face of a man who finally reached the peak, competing at the highest level of Jiu-Jitsu against the best in the world on the biggest stage, and he's not even there.
I didn't even care that I had made it to that point.
Right before the biggest match of his life, Pete Roberts saw something that hit him, and it wouldn't let go.
He was mad.
There was definitely a switch, you could tell.
What happened that day would reroute his entire life and ignite a movement that would spread across the country and beyond.
We're gonna bring manufacturing back to America. That's what we're gonna do.
After the 2008 recession wiped out their small ad agency, Pete and Amanda Roberts, young parents living deep in the woods of western Maine, sold everything and started over. Amanda took a job in the elementary school library. Pete threw himself into the only thing that steadied him, Jiu-Jitsu.
I didn't know what my purpose was outside of Jiu-Jitsu, and so I poured every bit of myself into that.
It was all consuming. That's all he did. Travel, think about it, the sport itself to the uniforms, it just was all encompassing and quickly took over our lives in a good way.
I thought if I could win in Jiu-Jitsu somehow, that path would lead me to winning in life because we had just lost everything.
This is Pete Roberts with BJJWeekly.com, Rolling Reflections, and this week we have hit on Gracie from the legendary Gracie Academy.
While investing all his energy in Jiu-Jitsu, he launched a small web publication and YouTube channel teaching technique. As he progressed in the sport, he couldn't stop thinking about the gi, why it hadn't evolved, and how it could.
I had a lot of ideas for the Jiu-Jitsu gi. I'd be competing in these tournaments and wearing this uniform wasn't my own brand at the time, and wondering why when I would be sitting in the bullpen between matches, my muscles would get cold, I would get tight, I wasn't loose anymore, and then I'd have to step back on the mat and compete again. It just struck me like, why are we competing in a garment that isn't innovative? And as I started to dig into it, what I discovered well, it's always been that way. The light bulb went off, I was like, so let's ask why and then change it.
In 2011, Pete acted on his ideas and Origin was born. A small, scrappy jiu-jitsu brand creating gear with innovation and a refusal to follow the typical playbook.
It was just me and one other person, John Milan, and my business partner, Dedeco, but it was just John and I up here in Maine.
We'd sit down, do the newsletter, answer emails.
We would take the orders, pack them up, ship them out. It led me down the path of sending some intellectual property, some designs to Pakistan, getting back some garments, testing them out, thinking they were pretty good.
Even while trying to grow Origin, Pete kept competing. Eventually qualified for the top tournament on earth, the World Pro in Abu Dhabi.
I don't even remember if I truly understood what was at stake, like what winning meant. I just remember being stoked that he won, and I remember running up to him, jumping in his arms, celebrating his win and everything, and then next thing I know, I'm dropping him off at the airport and he's going away.
But behind the scenes, he and John were dealing with constant issues from their overseas manufacturer in Pakistan. For months, the problems piled up.
Timelines were always off. Nothing was consistent.
You never knew what you were going to get for quality or even like quantity, right?
And everything came to a breaking point right as Pete prepared for the biggest match of his life.
I saw somebody who had this new Jiu-Jitsu uniform on, this Origin Jiu-Jitsu gi.
And he recognized them. He's like, oh, cool, somebody has my gi on.
He went to go thank them, and the person turned around and it had another company's logo on it.
And I knew immediately that our manufacturer in Pakistan was ripping us off. And then I got on a Zoom call and I called them out. And I'm so thankful, the words that they returned to me were, you can't do anything about it, business is business. And that changed everything.
In the aftermath of that tournament, Pete wrestled with the impossible question. What would it take to manufacture in Maine?
These are the first products I want to be able to launch. All products that either we can make locally here out of local woods and leather and whatnot.
I called up my business partner, Dedeco. I said, man, we need to build a factory. That's the only way I'm gonna do this.
He would have to clear a piece of forest where he and Amanda were raising their family, but before anything else, he'd have to convince Amanda that this was the path.
Pete talked to Amanda, and she was like, no, we can't afford it. And he's like, well, what if we just cut this little space on our property?
I was like, okay, I'm good with, maybe not here, but let's settle on this area.
He went and marked out this huge space.
I mean, these beautiful trees, like, that protected and were like boundaries to our property, to the neighbors, right? Gave us privacy or whatnot. He'd have tape like he was gonna cut them down. So then I'd have to go out and I'd rip down the tape.
She's like, no.
A lot of fancy words used as we sorted through that.
And then he's like, okay, well, what about this space?
So we would agree to this, and then he would do his thing and try to expand and just add a little bit more, right? Just get away with a little bit more.
Man, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just waking up every day and moving forward.
Building a factory to build geese, I thought he was crazy.
He had no idea how to do it. It was just right by the seat of his pants.
I didn't have any money to start the project. I just had friends and hands and daylight and chainsaw gas.
We all helped as much as we could, but you still have to have somebody who knows what the hell they're doing, which would have been Dustin.
Like, everything was on an extreme budget.
I think people don't realize that sawing a tree, cutting a tree, we call it felling a tree, leaves a stump. They are a disaster to try and take out of here.
It's a lot of work. You gotta fell the tree, make sure you don't get hurt doing it, because they're big trees, and then you got all the limbing to do, then you gotta get rid of the tree, and then you got a stump to deal with.
And then you have these big holes and craters in your land, so then you have to flatten it, bringing all this fill in and whatnot. I'm gone 6 to 8 hours a day. By the time I come back, something significant has changed. Like, I have a fully forested land, and I come home, it's cleared. And then the next day, there's a foundation. I mean, it happened fast.
Half-ass graded the property off, and he bartered with the local concrete guy to pour a slab.
You build a frame inside the building, and then you build onto that frame. And it's rough sawn hemlock.
Rough sawn, which means a big blade on a sawmill, sawed these suckers. If you ran your hand around it, you'd sand the skin off your hand. We're talking green.
We joked that the building was taller after it was done. The trees didn't even know they were cut down yet, and they were still probably growing.
And it's heavy as hell.
Probably 1,000 pounds each.
Roughly figured out to 1,100 pounds a piece.
I mean, you're talking massive, massive timbers.
It was basically trying to stand a tree back up. A bunch of us would get it, and we had this all-terrain scissor lift on the slab, and we'd pick it up and get it on it, and we'd strap it so it can't move, and I'd drive ahead and go up, drive ahead and go up, drive ahead and go up. Because he wasn't gonna hire a crane. That wasn't gonna happen. It was sketchy at best. Could have ended in disaster, but it worked.
We are juggling, trying to cut off importing, learning to manufacture, and building a factory all at once.
While Pete and John searched New England for production machines, Dustin finished the framing phase of the factory, and Pete still had no way to pay for it. Then an idea landed.
We ran this Jiu-Jitsu immersion camp in Maine, year number 1, and anybody that came had to pay cash.
I remember driving down to one of the first immersion camps at Camp Vega. He said, when the camp starts, come down, I'll have all your money for you.
And everybody showed up, and I collected all the cash, and then I had made a deal for the lumber and the concrete.
And I drove down broke, beyond broke. And he literally took all the registration money in an envelope and handed it to me.
And I said, okay, now you can go pay for this stuff that was already built.
And with that, an annual Jiu-Jitsu tradition was born, and the factory in the woods took shape. Built by belief and a refusal to quit. But the real challenge was just getting started. Once the lights finally flickered on, Pete and the team stepped into a different kind of fight. They had to learn how to make, how to sew, how to weave, how to engineer gear from raw fiber to finished product, how to resurrect skills New England hadn't practiced in a generation. Machines had to be found and rebuilt, patterns reinvented, processes rediscovered. Every day was a new problem, a new puzzle, a new chance to quit or keep going. The journey that started on a jiu-jitsu mat in Abu Dhabi didn't end with the factory. It began there. And from that rough start in the woods of Maine, a new American manufacturing movement took its first breath.